About 6 weeks ago, I bought a new bike, this KTM 300. I didn't really need a new bike, but I wanted one, and these are some thoughts on what one bike does better than the other, and my overall impression of this change.
So, couple teeth down on the, couple teeth up on the rear would probably do me very nicely for this. The second's not too bad. Just probably not good enough, not fast enough.
So why did I decide to upgrade? Well, first of all, there's about 29 years difference in the date of production between these two bikes, but more like 35 years of innovation. So I wanted a more modern bike, modern platform. I wanted to write something that's not from 1980s design. Don't get me wrong, KDX went everywhere I wanted it to go. It was a better rider than I am, and overall, for the first about 10 hours of riding the KTM, I was faster on the KDX. But there's a few key things that eventually got to me with this older bike, even though I did a bunch of work to it. First off, electric start is awesome. Might seem like a little thing, and I know some of you guys will be saying, I've been kicking my bike in the snow uphill both ways for 45 years, and that's fine, but objectively, a push button is a much better ownership experience. Especially riding this stuff, I fall lots, I stall lots, I'm not an expert, so I like it better. Secondly, carburetor versus fuel injection. And same thing, I've jetted my KDX carb a bunch of times, changed the needle, changed the slide. I've spent weeks getting it to run the way I wanted to, and I did manage. But I'm also very comfortable with electronics, and I much prefer pushing a few buttons on the ERM and being done with that. So overall, that's pretty good. The power, I didn't need any more power, but the fact that it's so down low with the KTM, it helps. It's lazy, and I don't mind lazy. Once again, with the KDX, I had no problem. I certainly was able to ride it higher in the RPMs and make all the hills and work the clutch. And the last point is suspension. KDX has very basic suspension design and quite old. I put gold valves in mine, and I sprung it and valved it for my riding, specifically for McNutt here. And it still felt a lot of the times like riding on wet noodles. Even my WR250R from 2008 was the design, mine's a 2017, has much better suspension. It tracks a lot better. So KDX was squirrely, and these are not at all squirrely. Also, those forks on the KDX, the conventionals, they hang down way too low, and they just kept getting caught on stuff.
What was that? Pretty sure that was that low fork. Oh, that smarted. At least the view is nice.
So what does KDX do better than the KTM? It evokes a sense of nostalgia with your riding buddies and memories of simpler times to be bygone. Another thing is, for a beginner, it's probably a better bike. It's softer and more forgiving. It is, I guess, slightly easier to service if you're not into electronics and don't have the capacity to read codes, set TPS, things like that. And that's about it. Honestly, KTM is a better bike in every single way imaginable. One thing to note is that my KDX was not stock, right? I had the suspension done. I put an Air Striker carb on it. It had FMF gnarly and the pipe, converted it to DC, installed a fan, LED lights. I guess everything that I could think of doing to make it a more modern and a better bike, I did do. So peak KDX and stock KTM is better. And here's an example of what I thought while riding the same trail on the KTM after doing it with the KDX.
They say it's 80% ride or 20% bike. I sure felt the 20% bike on that trail. On the KDX, I was sitting for half of it, usually, and in first gear. It's a 200, right? KDX 200. On this thing, I only sat down twice, and I was second gear all the way. So, I don't know, 20% pretty good to me.
Whereas in stock form, KTM is definitely better than the modified KDX I had. It was still not perfect, and you buy a bike and then you sell another bike, and then you have some money burning in your pocket to do some stuff to the new bike. So I did end up doing some things, quality of life, and definitely just set it up more for me. I'm 210 to 220 pounds in my gym shorts, and I have about 40 pounds of riding gear on me and with me. So this is what I did for me. Big guy with big feet and long arms, and this is it. I just filmed it on the bike, so I'll splice that clip in, and hopefully that gives you a good idea of where I ended up. So with the KTM, I'm really happy with it now. I ride it better than I ever did KDX. I enjoy it a lot, and I think it's here to stay for a long time.
So what did I do to this bike to make it right for me? Started the top handguards. I tried cheap Amazon ones, broken the first ride, so these Polo Sports are holding up a lot better. Little strap, bag, trail bound. Very nice. These are made for the KTM. They don't get in the way. They're just about perfect for all the small stuff. Some tools in there, zap straps, snacks, paperwork, manometer, things like that. Front and rear disc guards. So this is front disc guard. It looks just like the KTM one and the rear one. It's not the full that replaces the whole mount. It just bolts on the bottom. Both offshore. They're fine. Stock skate plate. It's fine. I did the fan, the rad fan. It goes on quite a bit. And these Enduro Engineering braces. Now the reason I didn't go with the guards, full guards, is because I wanted to keep the stock louvers. And I like the stock louvers because they keep the dirt off the radiators. If you look, I don't know if you can see, let me try to get in there. They're dirty from this direction, right? But then if you look, the fins inside are perfectly clean, so they capture all the dirt, and the rats stay clean. And that's pretty important to me, right? And same here. I know you guys can probably see. All right. What did I do? What else did I do? Suspension. I waited for about 10 hours to break this one in. The stock one, it didn't work for me. Just didn't feel right. It was too much chatter in the hands. There was a lot of talk about whether to change the internal spring in there or not. I went to Suspension Works. The guys there are really good. They actually dynoed these with the KTEC valves, and they figured out that the spring does not need changing when you use the KTEC valves. So it's set up really nice now. I enjoy it a lot. And in the back they did the bladder conversion, so that is no longer a piston, that's a bladder, and a revolve on the shock. So that was very much worth it. It's a lot better. I no longer feel weird riding it. It's much closer to what I'm used to. Stack pegs, I like them a lot too. These are 75mm back. I have size 14 feet and I ride on the balls of my feet, so these had to get set back quite a bit. Stock ones would sit right here, so this is smaller on the regular ones. I like them. I'm not about to become a competitive dirt biker. This makes it much more comfortable and longer ascents, and you know, when you lock in, you really lock in. It just makes it easier to ride, and I like it. Clutch lever. This is a clone of the Midwest offshore. It's fine. The original clutch I didn't like. My cable clutches felt better than the original clutch. So on my KDX it was way lighter pull with the cable and better engagement. So this gets it close. It's pretty good. I can get used to that. This is mount for the ERM. I got the ERM and their map. I did not do the head because on the TBIs the compression is supposedly higher than the TPIs. So the tune is good. My problem with it was that I don't I'm not on it enough. I'm not on it enough to get out of that gurgly mid, low to mid. And the mapping from TSP really does clean that up. It just feels a lot nicer. What else? Pegs. These are Carapax, 5 down, 10 back. Once again, my overly large feet necessitate that. Spring rates. In the back, it's an 82 Newton meter spring. The reason it's 82 and not 80, as would be recommended for my weight, is because that's what comes stock on a WR to 50R, and I upgraded that. So I had the spring sitting around. Saves me $200. I'm happy to put it on. In the front, there are 0.5s. I don't know if that's too stiff for me. They feel pretty good, but I'm not using full travel. Granted, I haven't sent it yet, so maybe I will be. Brake tip lever with these pegs and the steg pegs. The boot is now offset a little out, so I got this so that it's easier to catch. What else did I do? That's about it, I think. Oh, the rear sprocket is a 50. The reason it's a 50 and not a 48, I would have preferred to go 48 on this XCW. The reason it's a 50 is because on the marketplace it was for cheap, along with a chain of proper length. So I had to go up 2 links on the chain to make this fit pretty well, a 50. Ideally, I would have gone to the 48, because now I found that the second was a little too tall. Now the second is a little too short, and that's most of my riding here, but it's fine. It's good enough. I'm not complaining. But if you're buying new and paying full price, I think 48 is better for up here. Front tire stock, rear tire is Tusk Talon. Once again, I just transferred it from my old bike along with tubeless. I'm not a huge fan of this Tusk Talon. It's okay. It's probably worse than the worn out AT81 EX that I had. So yeah, a new Talon I find is worse than the used Dunlop. And I think that's it. I didn't do anything else. What do I have on the way for this bike though? I got the guard for here. I got something else is coming. Anyhow, when it shows up, I'll tell you. That's it. Seat. A lot of people get gripper seats and seat concepts. I'm not sitting down enough to warrant a seat. Oh, map switch. I got that on order, but KTM's back ordered. And one warranty issue I had with KTM is this light switch. It doesn't hold in. Otherwise, I love the bike.